Hi, this is Susan Key, and today I have the great pleasure of speaking with Mr. and Mrs. Ron Twentey. And they are in Maryland, and they are one of my most beloved friends, as well as a Korean War veteran. And I've had the pleasure of knowing both of them for several years now, so we'll share a little bit about that later on. But the topic of today's discussion is to introduce to everyone to this beautiful and very unique, one and only Korean War exhibit that both Mr. and Mrs. Twentey created with the support of the Antietam chapter in Hagerstown. So we'll give you a virtual tour of this exhibit for those of you who can't make it out there, but it's also as an introduction to anyone who might be interested in going and visiting it. So, Mr. and Mrs. Twentey, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're certainly welcome.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to share this with the audience because I've known about this museum exhibit for a while, but I think the word is still getting out and a lot of people don't know. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce this to everyone. Now, I thought what I would do, Mr. Twenty, to start off is to first introduce you as a veteran who served right after the war in Korea and talk a little bit about your service, how it led to your joining the KWVA and becoming the commander, chapter commander, and then creating this exhibit. So that's kind of the way that we're going to go in our discussion today. And Mrs. Twentey, feel free to jump in and correct either one of us as we go because you are so good with details. So let's go ahead and start and show everyone some of the pictures of your service in Korea, Mr. Twentey. And let's see here if I can do this correctly. Okay. Well, I think the one thing I really think of when I think about Mr. Twentey is he is a veteran who certainly understands so clearly and has articulated for so many years what the legacy of the Korean War is. And I will let him speak on that. So I thought we would just call this topic today as Korean War and its legacy. And that's really, I think, speaks true to who Mr. Twentey is. He is so passionate and such a great advocate for helping understand and teach people about what the legacy of the Korean War is. Mr. Twentey, this is a great picture of you, one of my favorites. Can you tell us about your service, unit you served with? A lot of the information is here, but I'd rather hear you speak rather than me reading it.
That's fine. Let's start back, Susan. Let's start back at high school.
Okay.
Uh, I graduated with a scholarship at the University of Maryland, athletic scholarship actually, and of course the draft was on for the Korean War, and I was totally confused. And initially, I decided to give up the scholarship to go in the Army. Well, I volunteered for the draft. They didn't call me. So I decided I'd join the Engineer Corps for Belvoir, Virginia. But of course, I took my basic with the 101st Airborne at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then moved on to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, to take the military drafting course. There were 60 total students in the class, of which 23 were Army. We got finished, and all 23 Army are assigned to Korea. A long process of getting from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, Washington, and fill up a trip ship. And 20 some days later, along the way, with Russian submarines popping up looking at us along the way. And we send up at the harbor, out in the harbor of Incheon, put in landing craft, and came into Incheon. So, anyhow, we had a replacement depot there. And I had no idea where I was going at first, but they put me on this rickety old steam train. And next thing you know, hours later, through a lot of devastation along the way through Seoul and beyond, the train stops. We had no idea where we were. And they said, get out as far as we can go. So we're standing there with duffel bags, and we thought, well, where are we? I mean, I didn't even know where Korea was.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see the train leaves, and we see a cloud of dust coming, and a bunch of trucks came pick us up and took us to a replacement depot just below the DMZ. And at that point, they assigned me to headquarters, 24th Infantry Division, uh, which we were stationed around Moonsani, to G3, which is operations. Actually, working for the commanding general of the 24th Infantry Division. The time I was there, I actually worked under three different generals during that time, and my job, of course, was as operations is to plot all movements of Allied or UN troops throughout the peacekeeping process that 24th Division was designed to do. We were up what we call up Route One toward Kaesong, just below the DMZ, and actually, the area we were in was classified. It was a restricted area because we were working on a lot of top secret work at that time. Because, as you know, even after the ceasefire, the war's not over even today. And
Mm-hmm.
so there were a lot of things going on. There were infiltrators. There were all kinds of things happening from North Korea that I was, of course, at being in headquarters, saw all that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was assigned to plot, not plant, because my training at Fort Belvoir was minefield recording to plot minefield above the Imjim River. And then I won't go into detail, but there was a second nuclear option, one that MacArthur had the first one before he got fired in 51, and there was a second one after the war. That's all I will say about it. I was involved.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a couple of questions for you about, this DMZ area. We all know that this is a buffer zone between North and South Korea, where it's heavily mined on both sides, and neither side is allowed to enter the DMZ area. Do you have any sense, Mr. Twentey, approximately how many mines were put into the DMZ? Now, of course, after you served, there could have been more put in, but at the time you were there in 55 to 57, what would your estimate be of what you were aware of at that time? How many?
Frankly, I really don't know. It was so
Mm-hmm.
long ago that I don't even remember what it
Mm-hmm.
was. Uh, I just remember what I did, and
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting, Mr. Twentey, is that I've interviewed some Korea defense veterans, and they served on the DMZ after the war. And some of them have told me they came across some really old stuff from Korean War that was left behind.
right,
I don't think they were mines, but just artifacts of weapons and things like that that were still lying around in the area.
right.
So, yeah. So obviously, you know about the cold in Korea. Here, you look like you're pretty warmly dressed, but it doesn't look like it's winter yet, but getting there.
Well, yes, where we were, the temperature was running around at the lowest point, somewhere around 20 below zero, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty vicious when we're walking guard. And of course, we had our rules of engagement during that period, which a lot of people didn't realize what that was all about. Uh, our compound was pretty good size, and there was barbed wire fence that was in the shape of a V, two strands
Mm-hmm.
of barbed wire on one side, two the other, one at the top, and then tin cans all the way around the perimeter of the compound. And when you're walking guard, you were not using your rifle M1. You were using sawed-off pump shotguns with the barrel. Well, the barrel was cut off because you couldn't see in the dark. But when those tin cans rattled, you got a little itchy.
Mm-hmm. That's
Uh,
how I knew there were infiltrators coming in.
yes,
Yeah.
and so the fence wasn't really that high, and you may
Mm-hmm.
not even be, watching that part of the segment where they could have sneaked through. But
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, if those tin cans rattled, as all military people know, there were passwords which changed every day
Mm-hmm.
that you had, and there was a comeback. For instance, who was Mickey Mouse's partner? If somebody didn't come back in a sentence, say his partner was Minnie Mouse, you shoot to kill.
Wow.
Just that simple.
Hmm. Well, I hope U.S. Army guys were not shot by each other as a result of forgetting the password or anything like that. I hope that kind of thing didn't happen.
Well, if they were speaking English, we might have carried the conversation a little bit further. But
Right. Yeah, their English would be very good, right?
yes, yes,
So there would be other
we
signs.
just don't shoot anybody. We just make sure it was the right person.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. You know what's interesting, Mr. 20, you started with the 24th Infantry Division, and 75 years ago, in July, the first unit to be sent to Korea was 24th Infantry
you're right.
from
Task
Japan.
Force Hits.
Yeah, Task Force Smith. So when you were there in 55 to 57, 24th Infantry has stayed through the war
Well, they had
and
gone.
through the time you were there.
I'm sorry. Really, they had gone back. They got the heck beat out of them around Busan. I mean, really, really bad. And to
Hmm.
my knowledge, unless you know something that I don't know, they were going back to Japan to regroup, and then were brought back right at the end of the armistice or ceasefire, I like to call it, in '53 for peacekeeping during that sector that was going up toward Panmunjom. We had the First Korean Marine Corps on the left side of us, which was out to the Yellow Sea, and the Seventh Division was on our right.
Hmm. So 7th Division was still there as well.
Yes,
Yeah, and 7th Division, as we know, arrived with the Marines at Incheon. That was their entry into the war, and then they went up into the Chosun Reservoir on the east side.
right.
Uh, that was the Army's unit that was fighting at Chosin. So yeah, all these divisions had origins from the Korean War. And your 24th Infantry Division is definitely one to follow in terms of its history. I don't know how much longer they stayed in Korea, but today in Korea is mostly the 2nd Infantry Division that have been continuing to defend Korea. So let's get on to this picture of this bunker. Is there anything you want to tell us about this bunker, what it was used for?
This bunker, it had a name, which was OP Maisie,
Hmm.
and it was right on the DMZ. And this is my picture here. Uh, I was up there numerous times, and for various reasons. I was not in that bunker to command or man the machine guns there, but I was there. Actually, the general's driver got me to go up there several times, and it was interesting. I mean, you're looking right down into Panmunjom from this bunker.
Hmm. Wow. So I imagine you had all kinds of binoculars and things like that in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is you in a truck. Is it a? This is a very special truck, isn't it? It's not a truck. There was something inside that trailer.
Well, it's most people know we had leftover World War II equipment, as you can very well see there by the front end of that truck.
Hmm.
And in fact, when the war began, as you also are aware of, that the U.S. was well equipped. They had started to downsize, and first South Korea had no army whatsoever that mounted anything. They didn't have any tanks or whatever. Okay, so this truck right here happened to be a part of G3, and it was my mobile war room. In G3, we had a war room, and then, I mean, obviously, the map, which I was my responsibility for all the troop movements, Allied is UN troops. Then I had this truck, which was a G3 commander's mobile war room, which I was in charge of and keeping it up to date inside maps, etc. And then behind all of this, you'll see a Quonset hut behind there. I think behind that, then we had another bunker inside the mountain, which was also another war room. So I was in charge of three different war rooms, and then in the field we had a tent, huge tent set up, which we shared with G2, which this vehicle was on one end where the commander could go in that part of the war room, and on G2, which is intelligence, we're on the other end of this big war room. of course, guards in the front. And then I was inside, and then the commanders coming in from all over would sit. I would take coordinates from the old type, what do you call it, a switchboard,
Hmm.
and they would hand me coordinates, and I would use grease pencil. Young people wouldn't know what that is,
I
but
don't know what that is. What is it, Mr. Twentey?
well, today you have the markers that are on whiteboard. This was a grease pencil that wrote on acetate, which we had over the maps. And then there are little characters you use. I wouldn't use them, symbols that I would use for the different units. For instance, a rectangle with a cross in it is infantry. One tick at the top would be a company, two would be a battalion, three would be a regiment, and then you go into X with corps, two X's at the top would be division. And so, though I knew all those symbols from my training back at Fort Belvoir, when they'd say, here's an artillery group, I would use that type of symbol for artillery, or this is whatever, whatever, whatever. Uh, so I was very close to all the commanding officers as well as the commanding generals when I was
Hmm.
there. Actually, all of them wrote a commendation for me.
How smart was it of the military to come up with this mobile unit that moved wherever you needed to be on the line? Uh,
I'm not
I think
sure.
that's very smart. You don't have to move tents and all the things that are inside. You just move a vehicle.
Well, it still had the large tent, but these were at either end for the
Uh-huh.
commanders of G2 and G3
Uh-huh.
to do their personal things inside of those, and then all would relate back to me
Hmm.
from coordinates I would get from the field.
Hmm. So how much of the Korea's DMZ crosses the entire peninsula? How much of this area would you say you kind of covered or had some knowledge of? Did you ever go all the way to the east? I never asked you that.
I
Whether
never went all the way to the east, but I was
uh-huh.
all over I really didn't know exactly the boundaries, except I knew the First Korean Marine Corps was on our right,
Hmm.
Seventh Division was on our. We just had a sector
I
that
see.
went up to the DMZ,
Hmm.
watching. Basically, was what is considered Route One in our day, and that was the main route from Seoul up to Kaesong and Pyongyang,
Uh-huh.
and
Okay.
toward the east side of the peninsula.
Okay. Sounds like you were right center almost
More
in the
to toward the
DMZ.
LFC side, yes.
Yes, on the west side. Wow. I love these pictures. And then this is, of course, a nearby Korean village in the winter.
Yeah, well, this is all we ever saw. I mean,
Yeah.
modern day Korea is unbelievable, but
Hmm.
this is all we ever saw, going village to village to village, and
Hmm.
um, it was hard. I mean, it was very heartening to see how they really lived, and to go
Hmm.
out and have to collect what you see there, stuff from the field on A-frames to come back to heat with. I mean,
Right.
it I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Everything was so manual then too. Korea was not modernized at all.
No,
It was a third world country, so everything had to be done by hand. Even before the war, it was very much like that. So even more so after the devastation of war, I know that they struggled a lot, even just to find means to survive. Now, this is a album that I saw when I visited with you in Hagerstown. This is an album you have kept from Korea, and so I just want to share with the audience a little bit of what you kept. This is something having to do with the 15th anniversary of the 24th Infantry Division. There's your picture on the left. And then these are some pictures of your buddies, I guess you took while you were there.
we were out in the field all the time on command post exercises, and yeah,
Mhm.
these are my buddies. That of course you see there, the pup tent was our home away from home, and the guys who
Mhm.
were in combat remember a lot of that. Each of us in our battle, comp, our backpacks carried one half of a shelter half for that pup tent, and
Mhm.
your other buddy had the other half, and it was always funny. We never had any rope and we never had any pegs for it. So I don't know whatever happened. We just do the best we could. But we're all hanging around waiting for whatever we are going to do. And as you see in the upper left-hand corner, we were always camouflaged. All the vehicles had their markings wiped out with mud, which was the same thing during the war. Really, didn't want any of the enemy know what
Hmm.
unit that they were up against.
Right. Oh, these are, I love taking, sharing pictures of that veterans have of their time in Korea. Um, this is just a couple more
Well,
Jeeps,
there
I
you
guess.
are. The picture up in the left-hand corner is right in front of the general's office, and I'm right across the street.
Hmm.
Preparing to leave, and you'll see markings if it's clear enough to people. You'll see the markings marking out where the headquarters, and then we're loading up, getting ready to go. And then if you look, the lower left-hand corner is the bunker behind G3's Quonset hut, and then to the right, where's my hooch? It was very, very hilly. Went between two mountains,
Hmm.
and if you kind of got a little bit to drink, you fell down those holes, down those mountains. There's a long ways to go.
One of the veterans I knew here, Mr. Ladd, he was another dear veteran of mine. He's not with us anymore, but he used to say to people, there's only one way to go in Korea, up,
Right. It's
because it's so
70%.
mountainous. He used to joke about that. He was with the combat engineers group with the U.S. Army. Now, these are some other great pictures of you. Oh my gosh, look how small that little pup tent is. You could barely sit up in it, right? The left picture there.
Yeah, you better know your buddy pretty well because it's
It's
big,
close quarters.
very close quarters. And of course, you had
Uh-huh.
your sleeping bag there, but
Uh-huh.
it was extremely cold no matter what. And
Wow.
those two upper pictures, and then the lower left are my buddies. I have our names wrong. I'm the second from the right with POW cap on, and then to the lower left hand corner, right hand corner is we had just gotten back from an exercise. I think I was up 30 some hours at that point. And I mean, listen, I don't want to take anything away from the combat veterans, but um, we were all nighters and into the next day. And you worked almost 7 days a week. You didn't get any time
Hmm.
off.
Wow. And there was a lot of guard duty, wasn't there? Like going on patrols and things like that. No, did you do any patrol duty?
No,
No?
other than guard duty around the compound, I was not on a patrol, so to speak.
Hmm.
We got to where we were going, sat up the command post in the war room,
Right.
and we started immediately into what we were doing.
Right. Yeah, you were focused on mapping and those kinds of activities. Yeah. I guess this is your bucket, your helmet.
Yeah, a lot of
Wash
people
bucket.
don't know that little helmet, not counting the liner that's in it, is 3 pounds. And that pretty well, other than a basin I had at Mahooch, pretty well how I washed for 16 months.
Wow.
Except when I went to Japan on R&R. I'd gotten sick and was in a MASH hospital, and then was sent to Japan for R&R for a week. And I did get a bath with a little Japanese girl. Um, I won't. Never had to say what I was going to say. Trish says, "Knock it off."
Yeah. So yeah, I imagine getting a shower or cleaned up
Oh,
was
it's
very
unbelievable.
difficult. It's just very rare. There's just no running water anywhere, I imagine. Uh,
They dropped off. We were on a hill that was probably 40 degrees slope, and they would drop off 5 gallon cans of water for us, and we'd have to carry them about 150 yards back to our hooch outside this here, same thing here. There'd be a tanker that would be there, and you get your water from
okay.
that.
Sure.
Never ever had any hot water.
Right, right. Wow. Just the things we take for granted that our veterans have to suffer when they're serving abroad is just really a good reminder to us, Mr. Twentey, that even things like just washing your hands and washing up your face is a difficult luxury for our veterans. Now, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to start to share some pictures that are in my album to take you through a little bit more of. Okay, are you able to see this now? Maybe not. Let
Not
me let me let me start this over again. So let me share. Okay, are you able to see this now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So I thought we would go next from, well, let's talk a little bit. Let's close this up in terms of your service. So you left Korea in 57. Is that correct, Mr. Twenty?
I left Korea in 57, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went to Fort Belvoir for architectural drafting.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be military architectural drafting. And by that time, I'm a first three-day grader, so I live off post and just came in every day to go to school, and I would march the students to school. But the end of the class, I came out third in the class in 60, so they kept me there as an instructor at headquarters uh, at the engineer school, and I taught for 1 year students, basically recruits.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing that I originally went there in the first place. And of course, one of my subjects was minefield recording. So
So then, how long did you stay there before you got out of the army? And
I was there for 1 year, which I then left the Army in June 58.
mhm. And so after you got out of the army, can you tell us about the work, civilian work you did?
Well, I started looking for a drafting job, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
one came up in the newspaper in Frederick, Maryland, which is the area I was originally from. And I got interviewed by a gentleman who looked like he was a scientist or some special person, but I didn't really know anything about him at the time. And they hired me as a draftsman, engineering draftsman, for $60 a week, and which I was tickled to death to get. At that time, I know people would laugh at that,
That was
but
probably a lot of money back then, I imagine.
well, it was all relative. I mean, there were no credit cards. If you didn't have cash, you didn't buy it, and
Yeah,
things like that.
that's
Well,
actually very, yeah, wise
as
in
it
those
turned
days.
out, my top secret clearance came into being because this gentleman owned Ordnance Engineering Corporation, and of all things, the Cold War is beginning with Khrushchev, and things were getting pretty hot with Russia. And so I worked on anti-submarine warfare because the Russians were running submarines along the East Coast, and we worked on a lot of things like that. Now, then I left the company and went to Washington D.C. for a research firm. Guess what? Anti-submarine warfare studies on the B-1 bomber, which you heard a lot about recently, and also the M1 tank. These were way before they were obviously put into action. But uh, in one particular job, I was sent. I had to have up to crypto clearance at that point. And at one point, I was set up to Arthur D. Little at Cambridge, Massachusetts, to further work on the anti-submarine work. And when we were finished, they handcuffed a satchel to my wrist. I met a plainclothes Army officer at LaGuardia Airport who had the key. He took it. I left back to Washington and forgot exactly what I did.
Oh, wow. So this was obviously very classified work that you were doing for the
Yeah. And
government.
then I came back to the same company.
Uh-huh.
I was there 3 times. Every time I leave, they asked me back. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but anyhow, long story short, the gentleman who interviewed me, his name is John V. Adanasoff, who is the inventor of the computer binary system.
Oh, wow.
And I thought after I'd learned that, and it was a big battle with UNIVAC and others, but he came out on top as the inventor of the computer in the 90s. And but when I look back, I mean, I had to do a couple prototype jobs from him, and I'll tell you what, this guy was a friggin' genius, and uh, I really felt very honored to actually have worked under him, not directly but indirectly. But he felt enough of me that I could handle some of these prototype jobs he had. That he
Mm-hmm.
was inventing things.
Mm-hmm.
So then, let's see where we go from there. Uh, I worked for him, I think, up into the 80s, and then I freelanced with him. And I was sent, well, before I freelanced, I took a job with him up in York, Pennsylvania, and was the director of marketing and communications. Now it becomes an international, they kept getting bought out by somebody. They became an international firm out of Britain. And I met this young lady here up there, thank golly, and I am blessed. Otherwise, if I had not been up there, what had happened is 1983. There was a special project going on up there, and they asked me from Frederick to go up there and check it out. And of course, they had made me fire my New York ad agency, and I was it, and I couldn't do everything. So I was there overseeing this project with this ad agency that Trish was manager of, and then later on, I went up there at
Mhm.
that division and used her agency. Then I was driving back and forth to Hagerstown, 2 hours one way every day for a long time. And one night there was some kind of a trade show going on in New York, and Trish asked me to go with her boss and whole group. And after that, she asked me for a date, Susan. So
So
uh,
so obviously you said yes.
I think so. I'll tell you what, it's been a good ride. It really has. And
Yes. Well, you make a great team. As long as I've known both of you, you're always working together. And I think that probably comes because of the fact that you met that way, professionally working together, and you make such a great team. So now let's talk a little bit about both of your involvement with the Korean War Veterans Association chapter in Hagerstown, Maryland. Can you tell me how you first got involved with this chapter and what your current roles are?
be glad to. First of all, I didn't know the Korean War Veterans Association even existed because I didn't
Mm,
talk about anything, even though I wasn't in heavy battle or one of the heavy the veterans who really paid the ultimate sacrifice. Um, I was looking at a newspaper one day, and I saw where there was something going on in I think it was 2008, Korean War Veterans Association. I said, "What is this?"
hmm
And so and they were chartered actually in 2007. And I called this individual's name was there, and I joined up immediately. So we have a lot of camaraderie with the guys and be able to talk about things that we never talked about before. And so at that point, of course, they asked me to be vice commander. I was the events chairman. I took care of all the events to Washington, D.C. and everything over the next 18 years, and currently right now. And then Susan, in 2021, we had just a fantastic commander he was a good friend. And his wife had gotten COVID in December 50, I mean 20, and daggone, he didn't get it. We thought she was going to pass. It turns out he got it and died in January from COVID. So now they said, okay, will you take over commander at this point? And I said, well, I live 50 miles away, but I will. I'll carry it from here on out. And uh, we had a great group of guys. And of course, we started out with about 120 some in the chapter.
Wow, that's
All would be
amazing that we
that's
had that many at that time. Yeah.
yeah, it's Korean veterans. We have an associate veteran and honorary veterans. I mean, people who are in the chapter. So
Yes.
anyhow, currently, and I'll pick it up here in a minute. Currently, we're down to 24.
I
Uh,
know.
so
Yes.
along the way, I can remember the exact date. It was 2021, March 3rd. I said to the guys, "We're going to build an exhibit on the Korean War." And they all looked at me like I was crazy. And we had collected a lot of graphics over those years, and one of the former commanders wanted to close the chapter and throw everything away, and I said, "The heck you are! We're going to build an exhibit." And
So the idea came about to build an exhibit. Is it as a result of everybody having given what they had of the Korean War and you're wanting to display it and share it? Is that kind of how it came about?
Well, we had collected all kinds of graphic materials over all
Hmm
those years, and they were in one person's basement, another person's basement, another person's garage. They were in storage. Our historian had done a great group of scrapbooks on many of us, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures that existed. And I said, "This we can't throw this stuff away."
Right.
We didn't get physical artifacts till later on, but that started to come in. But anyhow, I opened my big mouth, Susan, and I thought, where are we going to get the money? We don't have any money. The budget for our chapter is not all that great. So it was a struggle, but we made it piece by piece. I started then design. They gave me a go ahead, and we started designing what the exhibit was going to look like.
Hmm.
And
Well,
I went.
before we go into the exhibit, I want to have a little bit of explanation on this memorial here.
Oh, okay.
Uh, can you tell me when this Korean War Memorial in Hagerstown was dedicated? It obviously has the Antietam chapter emblem there right in the middle. When was this built and dedicated?
Well, they had created a committee to uh, make sure this memorial would be there to obviously honor the legacy of the Korean War
Hmm.
veterans. Specifically, at that time, 32 had paid the ultimate sacrifice in Washington County, Maryland.
Hmm.
It turns out more recent, we found six more. So at least 32 of them are there. We're going to put another plaque up to get the other six guys in there. But anyhow, we needed something to make sure that we were not forgotten at that point. That was probably a 3-year deal with the committee. I was not on that committee, although the
Hmm.
one thing right in the very back there we see that's my design that they adopted, uh, and they actually dedicated it in June 2013 is what it was.
Wow. So it's been there now 12 years.
Yes, we just had a big event a couple of weeks ago there.
Wow. 2013. That's great. And so you have a lot of ceremonies here, don't you, Mrs. Twenty, at this memorial?
We have 2 or 3 times a year. The most recent was June 28th, commemorating June 25th, the beginning of hostilities. And that's probably the last large event because of the dwindling membership and the age of the members.
Yeah,
Hmm. And so you come here for also Veterans Day and other
it
holidays,
depends on what it. Yeah.
Memorial Day as well.
We very seldom ever really did what the Koreans call 925 War, the June 25th. A couple of our commanders said, well, that's a Korean, I wouldn't say
That's a Korean thing.
thing. We always do the 27th. Well, I didn't totally believe that. And so, anyhow, we started having, at least, if nothing else, we had a small crew there. The 2 dates, the 25th of June and 27th, of course. And
Hmm.
the last big event we had was the year before last. Uh, then this year, of course, we had to do the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the beginning of the war.
Hmm.
And of course, the embassy is always so good to us as far as coming. You can see some of them standing there, as well as Yumi Hogan, which was the first lady for 8 years in the state of Maryland. Her husband was governor.
Right. So
And
in the center
she,
next to Mr. Twenty, on the right is Mrs. Hogan, former First Lady of Maryland, and then members of your chapter, and then Lieutenant Colonel Lee or Kim from the Korean Embassy there.
that
Lee.
might be Lee, or is that? Yes,
It's
it would
Lee.
have been
Hmm.
Lee.
Okay. I thought I had a pretty good chance. It's either Lee or Kim all the time. Those are the two
That's
most common last names.
Then there are county commissioners there. There's our honor guard
Yes,
and my chaplain and
right,
others there.
right.
Yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful. I'm so grateful that Hagerstown, as small of a town as it is, has veterans like you and your chapter that have really given Korean War a place for people to learn from and to remember. So this is great. Now, you and I met in person in 2022, but we had talked I think a few years before that. And I remember the very first phone call you had made to me was you were excited about getting a permit for the Korean War exhibit at Fort Ritchie Museum. And I think we must have met online on Facebook or something. Somehow we had talked before and you had
Yeah.
called me. But this is the first physical meeting of you and I, on June 25th, 2022, the year that the wall was dedicated. I just love this picture. It's just everything I love about our veterans is so exemplified in your smile, your pride. And just it's always so humbling whenever I'm with our Korean War veterans, especially at a place like our Korean War Veterans Memorial.
It's been a
Us,
blessing to meet you. Now, let me back up a little bit,
yes.
Susan. Of course, once we indicated that we were going to do an exhibit, we didn't
Uh-huh.
have a place.
Yes.
So we started looking all over the county in Washington County, Maryland, and no one would want to give us anything to do.
Hmm.
And so we were getting frustrated. I'm starting to move along on this, and I thought, where in the world are we going? What are we going to do? Because I wanted manned pretty well full time. I didn't want some volunteers to show up and whatever. And we got on a Zoom call with the Washington County Veterans Advisory Committee. And through that, there was one person who indicated that there was something going on up in Fort Ritchie, an old fort which went back to 1926, 1927 with Maryland National Guard, and in 1942 became an army fort for counterintelligence for the Allies as well as the army to get information from the Germans. So they brought a lot of German and Austrian Jews over, drafted them, weren't even citizens at the time, taught them at this fort for 8 or 9 week program, very highly classified, sent them back to the Allies in Europe. And there were some Japanese that went that direction in the Europe, the Asian theater. But it was famous for the Ritchie boys of World War II.
Hmm.
So I found out that something truly was going on there, and I asked for a meeting and went up and said, "Is there any chance that we could get in your museum?" Well, it turned out that they had just hired a new uh, uh, director, and both of his grandfathers were in the Korean War, which helped a lot. So I
Yes.
presented my plan, and by September 21, I had an agreement, and then we went from there. Remember now, this fort was closed in 1998. Corporate corporations came in, were supposed to do great things. They just ruined everything, and then they closed the post down, and uh, the county took it over, and suddenly it's all the windows in every building are broken down. I mean, you're talking about a big fort. There were 20,000 people there at one time, and it was going in really disrepair. And a local guy bought it and is renovating every building that's in this fort from the ground up. And they gave us a spot for the exhibit, which you had seen a couple years ago, and it's still work in progress. We will always be adding things. In fact, that we just ran into, just by chance this past week, uh, a young lady, well, she's not young, but a lady whose father actually piloted from the local area F-86s over North Korea, shot down one MiG, and she ended up giving us a whole bunch of things, including his flight suit and things, which we
Wow.
haven't
So he
had.
was a Sabre pilot. F-86
Yeah,
were
he was.
Sabres.
And it turned
Hmm.
out he
Wow.
was local, and no one knew anything about it. And
Hmm.
meanwhile, we started gathering all the physical artifacts from all over. I had a lot of things myself, and so
Hmm.
we have display cabinets there with just lots of
Right.
things. Of course, we
Well,
give everybody.
I just want to give a shout out to the gentleman who bought Fort Ritchie because I think, when our military forts like this or bases that were used for military purposes back in World War II falls into disrepair, they can just buy the property and just demolish everything. But he didn't do that.
No,
He kept a lot of these historic buildings, and he's obviously helping preserve the history of the Ritchie Boys, and now also giving you a space in that building for Korean War exhibits. So I just really want to recognize his just how noble that is to preserve our history, to preserve it for future generations so that it's not lost with demolition. And he's making the Fort Ritchie area and reviving it and modernizing it to some degree, but also keeping the historical aspects alive. So let's show this. I love this really charming little building that the Korean War exhibit is in. So This is the Ritchie History Museum that's on site and inside. Now, we're going to be talking about Korean War exhibit, but to the other side, there's a history on the Ritchie boys, isn't there, Mrs. Twentey?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's two exhibits inside this building, the Ritchie Boys exhibit as well as Korean War exhibit. So I love this etching you have with the Korean War exhibit. It looks very military. Even just the lettering you chose is like so
Mhm.
perfect. But there's quite a lot there. So from here on, I'm just going to have you both be the docents here for our audience and take us through a virtual tour. And as we show you different elements of the exhibit, please feel free to share what you tell the visitors when they come and visit about what we're going to be covering here.
Well,
Uh,
I tell you what, it was quite a project, and I tell you, Trish, it wouldn't be for Trish. She's 80% of this because I know nothing about a computer. In fact, don't want to know at my age. But that's another story. But what happened was we did storyboard after storyboard. We
mhm.
had, like I say, hundreds and hundreds of pictures, and all these graphics were in really bad shape. And of course, as you in that particular picture right there, you'll see the black and white pictures off the right. They're all Pentagon archive
Oh,
pictures, which some of you've used on some of your posts. We selected. We were only had room for 40 of those. But if you're looking at that, you look straight ahead. You'll see the 3 years of the primary war, which, as I said, the war is not over, still very much going on. A lot of GIs have been killed since then.
hmm.
And if you look to the left, there is a little podium, and there above that is scrapbooks from uh, about a lot of us in our chapter.
Actually, I was going to
And
ask you about that a little later. On this timeline, I think it's so important that you have this timeline because
yeah,
so many people don't even know when the war happened and how long it lasted. So this is a very essential part of your exhibit, kind of showing when did it happen and what happened in those 3 years of this war. And I love this map you have here of how quickly the front lines changed in the fighting of the war. This when they invaded down to the Pusan perimeter, and then the U.S. and UN forces going all the way up into the North Korean China border. That was a matter of just 7 months of the war. The first 7 months of the war, there was this kind of a drastic movement. And so I think it's so great that you gave such a graphic illustration of what happened with the fighting here, as well as just what are the milestones that happen in the war. So this is, even though it's one panel, there's a lot there, isn't there?
there is, and
Yeah.
this was something that the government had done, I think, for the 50th anniversary. Well, of
Hmm.
course, what we had was in pretty bad shape. And just by luck, my son is in the exhibit business and in the
Hmm.
printing business. And so, according with him and his designer and Trish and her computer and me with my designs, we were
Uh-huh.
able to put it all back together.
I think it's much improved. I think you should probably sell this to the Department of Defense.
Well,
Have them, like, put it out to all the KWVA. I think it looks beautiful.
It's interesting
Uh,
to me, Susan, from my background as a mechanical artist. Ron's a designer, but I'm the mechanical artist and the typesetter and proofreader. And this chart was just full of typographical errors.
uh-huh.
And Ron's son was able to splice, to cut and paste um, corrections onto this timeline
Hmm.
to make it accurate. It was the errors. Some of the errors were embarrassingly
Hmm.
obvious. So,
Okay.
people tend to think that when they see the exhibit, that this is the way we got the materials and we just hung them on the wall. And it was far from
Wow,
that.
yeah. So you did
It
a lot
was,
of editing,
yes.
improvements on some of the wording, and also even placement of these pictures because these are pictures that you put into this graphic. And I love how you use this ribbon here for the timeline. Just everything about it is so beautifully put together. And I think a lot of visitors to museums forget or don't even think about how much work it takes to present information on a display like this and how much thought went into it. So I didn't know that you had to do a lot of editing on this, Mrs. Twenty, but of course you would be the best at it. You're so meticulous in your attention to detail. So this is that timeline, important timeline. Now, these are some of the artifacts you're talking about, Mr. Twenty, that you have been collecting over the years, donated by veterans. Is there anything really of interest that you think is unique that you want to point out in this exhibit here of all the artifacts?
Of course, we have an M1 bayonet, which was mine.
Is that right here?
In the lower, yes.
Yes.
And beside of that is, excuse me, tool entrenching, which is what the
Yes.
Army would say,
Uh-huh.
shovel, in other
Yes.
words, that you would, of course, dig your foxholes and
Hmm.
whatever you needed it for. But it turns out we have canteens, we got mess kits, we've got cartridge belts, we've got so many things in there, and just probably 100 different challenge coins that
Hmm.
were given to us, and hats and things of people from our chapter.
Hmm.
And there are a couple airplanes in there. One is a C-119 in the lower left-hand corner of that case, which actually was built in Hagerstown, Maryland, by Fairchild. That plane was built from 1948 to 1955, which dropped a lot of troops into the Chosin Reservoir and supplies into North Korea when they were advancing toward the Yalu River. Then later on, they built the A-10, which is not there because that was a different timeline. That was built at Fairchild. And it's my knowledge that the South Korean Air Force is still using that plane, but I think they're going to not use it after this year. They're going to upgrade it.
I
But
did
anyhow,
not know that the C-119s were built in Maryland.
yet
Wow. Well, that's something I'm going to have to share with a good friend of mine, Sandy. Her father was a commanding colonel of the Air Force that commanded the C-119s.
Hmm.
And he flew them to drop the paratroopers, the Rakasans, including Colonel Weber,
right,
the two times that they dropped the paratroopers. And then also, he dropped the bridge at Chosin Reservoir
Oh,
that actually was required to build over the pass that had been blown out by the Chinese. So there's
right.
quite a story. I'm going to be interviewing Sandy for her father's story, but uh, yeah, I'm so glad to know that the C-119s originated from Maryland. Maryland really is rich in history. I did not expect to hear that. That's
Well,
really
let her
interesting.
know that there's a museum, Fairchild Museum, that has several models of the C-119, not models, but the real planes there in the museum. They built trainers and everything for World War II, lots of things right there. And a lot of my members actually worked there, as it turned out.
Really? Wow, I'm going
Yeah,
to have to tell her about that. You called it Fairchild? Is that a name of a company or a city?
yeah. Fairchild was an aircraft
Oh,
manufacturer, and
okay.
yeah.
Wow, so that's interesting. Now, I had interrupted you earlier, Mr. Twenty. You were going to tell me about these scrapbooks that were on the left here on the shelf.
On the left side, we had, of course, a historian, which we had needed,
Uh-huh.
and he took it upon himself with his girlfriend uh,
Uh-huh.
to put together many, many. There they are on the upper corner there,
Yes.
scrapbooks of our members. And they ended up actually to be a great treasure for us when Trish was putting together, as you'll see in a little bit, the actual wall of our members and a lot of the activities we've done for 18 years. And so he just passed, by the way. And then this makes, if you'll see, I make a little notation there, which I honor him and his friend. And then we start with some pictures of various things that activities, including one missing in action funeral there of Blivens. There were two brothers in Korea. They were killed within 30 days of each other, but one was missing in action until 2013, and
Hmm.
we had a funeral for him.
So this is a really interesting corner of really personalized memories of veterans, their scrapbooks, because I think often you go to a museum exhibit and it's more general history. It's not specific veterans' personal history that they've kept. So next time I go, I want to look through some of these scrapbooks. I didn't have a chance to, but just like I looked through your scrapbook was so fascinating. That's so great. And sometimes the greatest treasures are kind of not most visible, are they? I'm gonna have to
No,
take a look at this next time I come. But yeah, I love just how you displayed one of these scrapbooks here. I guess this is one of your veterans.
Well, what I find interesting, Susan, also when
Mhm,
we get to the museum on Fridays, we're there most Fridays,
mhm,
I'll go to the scrapbooks and see if the one that's laying open is
mhm.
still open to the page that I left open. And invariably, it's not. So people actually do look at the scrapbooks.
Yes, to me, that is the most fascinating part is to see something we haven't. These kinds of pictures some people may have seen, but to see somebody's personal scrapbook is a real treasure. What a great gift those veterans left for this exhibit. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, some Korean War books here as well. And then
Well,
someone's uniform.
the blue
Yep.
book you see above there is
This one.
a booklet which I put.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't understand what Crazy Kim number 3 is up to in North Korea. And I have all the crazy things that he requires his populace to do who don't know any better, including a picture on the wall in their homes. There's everything from a haircut chart that you must follow to the 3 generation rule that you know about as far as someone doing something within his under his regime. They will be executed or sent to hard labor, and for 3 generations.
Hmm.
And anyhow, there's so many things, and I'll pull that open, and I said, "Do you understand how free you are today compared to what
Yes.
you see here?
Yes.
No Western movies, no international calls, and so it goes."
You're right. So yeah, that is something that I think is part of the legacy that I'm sure you talk about. Now here you have pictures also next to these albums of veterans scrapbooks. You have Korea Today. And I think that is really an incredibly important part of the Korean War story that doesn't get told by any museum. They just stop with the history. They just tell you what happened and that's it. They don't tell you what's come out of the sacrifice of 36,000 Americans and 1.9 million Americans that served in Korea. And your exhibit is the only one I know of in all of the United States that has what Korea today looks like and what the significance of their sacrifice is for today's generation. And
I'm glad you
so,
brought that up because you'll see the forgotten victory there.
yes,
It's not a forgotten victory, it's remembered victory. I'm
that's right.
actually right in the process right now, completely renovating that whole piece to make sure it's called the Remembered Victory with
Hmm.
many, many more photographs. Because those photographs I chose from whatever, and I didn't before you and I and a group of us went to Korea a couple of years ago, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea." I said, "Oh, these are pictures I picked." But now let's really show what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that's getting ready to be revised.
That's great because I think that in itself is um, a theme of the Korean War, that it is a forgotten victory and should be a remembered victory, as you said. And I think you're one of the very few veterans I first heard that from, that people don't realize, hey, South Korea was saved. That was the objective, was to save South Korea. So why is this a lost war? Why is this a forgotten war? It's a victory. And look at South Korea today versus North Korea, as you pointed out, where under the crazy Kim number 3, people have no freedoms whatsoever. And so the huge contrast between North and South Korea is in itself a testament to our Korean War veterans' service and sacrifice. And
I had a little, when I was designing this, Susan, I
mhm,
shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. When I was designing this, one of the former commanders who actually served somewhere else, he served in the U.S., he was not in Korea. He said, "Why do you want to put that there?" I said,
mhm.
and he was really fighting me. So I said, "What in the heck you think we had the war for? Let's show what happened, what you fought for."
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just overruled him. I wasn't going to put up with
Right.
it.
And now, of course, after our trip to Korea together with
Oh,
you and
gracious.
Mrs. 20 in 2023, you have a lot of pictures with Korean kids, youth.
Oh,
Uh,
Yes.
and so that's another personal element of these kids that are thriving now in a country so free and prosperous because of what you and all the other veterans did to defend South Korea. So I'm sure this will become even greater with the personalized photos of kids you have met uh, at the museum and even the youth at Satan Church. So beyond buildings, I know you're going to put some beautiful pictures of Koreans there today who love and honor our veterans from America. Should we talk about? I think this one is just a closer up picture of all the different pictures of the war. And this was a old poster, right? I've seen this with other Korean War veterans.
Yeah, that is an old poster.
Yeah, this is from the
Of course,
50th anniversary, yeah, of the
we
Korean War.
wanted to make sure that people understood that
Yeah.
although that poster represents all the combatants in the war, whether it was
Yes.
the Soviets, whether it was the Chinese, whether the North Koreans, all the UN countries that were a part of all that, and a lot of the airplanes and or the equipment that you see. We wanted to put that back up. We had it was all rolled up in a mess, but we
Mm-hmm.
fixed that's extremely important that I show that to a lot of people. They don't understand the number, about the UN countries and the fact that even though there were 21 countries, their U.S. did primarily over 90 some percent of the fighting in that war.
Yes.
And
And
so then to the left there, where you see all the war pictures,
mhm.
you see me, my pants there on there. But anyhow, reflecting
Yeah, you
pictures.
took this picture.
Anyhow, I'm that's pretty gross. But anyhow, we had 40 pictures we put in. I tried to mix it up a little bit of air, a little bit of Chosen, a little bit here, a little bit there. And then I have 4 videos, Susan, going on that kiosk that you see.
Uh-huh.
I originally was
Yes.
going to make it so that you could. It's a touch screen
Uh-huh.
that if I had the full blown version of the war. It's very graphic, bodies, the whole works. Starting with Truman coming into and then when he, of course, when he fired MacArthur and so on and so forth. Okay, that's one. And then I have from Prager University, David, how do you pronounce his name? Hansen.
Victor
Uh,
Hansen.
yeah,
Yes.
he did a 5 minute thing, which was strictly graphics. It wasn't
Ye-
any.
Yes, he did a great piece
Yeah,
on the causes of
yeah.
the war and what was it for.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
they gave me permission to use that. And then I have another one of their memorial, which is there in Hagerstown, you just saw earlier. Then I decided that I must, under no other, absolutely must honor Colonel Weber, which
Yes.
it was so important as part of the 2 monuments in Washington, D.C. They would not be there without Colonel Weber's
Hmm.
insistent it be done. And we can
I
tell the story of him if we want to.
I thought I had seen a picture of something you had done to dedicate to Colonel Weber, but I guess not in our
Yeah,
pictures
Yes.
here.
let's see it. Uh,
It's on a side
it's on
wall
a
of the
side
bunker.
wall.
So
So
yeah, maybe this picture doesn't capture it, but I know you have one
it,
dedicated to Colonel
it's
Weber.
good. Keep on going.
It's on a
Yeah,
side
so
wall of the bunker.
that's all I have here.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's in. mm,
so it just must have not gotten captured, but I know you have one dedicated to Colonel Weber. It's not in this one, right? No, that's your
No,
yeah,
that's
that's
not
your
it.
chapter activities.
It's there. You had it earlier. I saw.
That's Mrs.
Oh, no,
Hogan.
the opposite wall you see there.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Well, oh, is this it right here? There it is. Oh, wait, that's Mrs.
Okay.
Hogan. That's okay.
It's on the opposite wall.
Okay, well, I'm sorry I don't have that here for the audience, but so Colonel Weber is was a paratrooper during the Korean War. He lost an arm and a leg, and he became the greatest proponent of the Korean War Veterans Memorial, and that's why it got built. And then, of course, he became even a stronger voice to build a Wall of the Remembrance, which was dedicated in 2022, listing all the names of over 36,000 Americans that were killed. And I know you had a very good, close friendship with Colonel Weber before he passed. And so you wanted to honor him here as one of the true advocates for Korean War Memorial in DC.
We were very, very, I guess, honored that there was a big event in Washington, D.C. I had my grandson with us. Now, Colonel Weber was always busy, he got with a leg
Hmm.
gone and an arm gone, but yet somehow he noticed that my grandson did something very patriotic in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a call from the executive director at that time of the Korean War Memorial Foundation. His name is Jim Fisher, which you know. And Jim says, Colonel Weber wants to know who this boy is. And Jim says, I know exactly who it is. It's Ron Twentey's grandson. He said,
Mm-hmm.
well, I want to write him a letter and I want him to come to my home, my farm. And it was, how do I explain it? It was such an honor.
Mm-hmm.
And first thing we come into his home, he said, you don't call me Colonel. My name is Bill.
We said, yes, sir, Colonel Bill.
Yes, sir, Colonel
Yeah.
Bill. And of course, he gave my grandson all kinds of memorabilia and stuff and invited
Mm-hmm.
us back to do, because it's an old farmhouse, which goes back to the Civil War, I mean, the Revolutionary War, I think. And it was just an honor for us to be there and
Mm-hmm.
to have known him. Now, if I can move forward with him a little bit, as we finished or almost finished the wall, as you well know, there it was almost finished, and Colonel Dean was project manager on that, which is an American colonel who's now retired. Um, he, when they were putting in the very last section of that wall, he and Major General Pio of the Korean embassy attaché took a picture of that last section being put in. Immediately jumped in their car and drove to Colonel Weber's farm out of New Windsor, Maryland. And now by this time, Bill is under hospice care,
Mm-hmm.
and said, "Bill, you got it done." And before that got back to Washington, he passed. Now, I
Yes.
tell that story almost every time I have a tour in the museum because I get cold chills. And he meant so much to so many people. He remained in the military, as you know, 34 years.
Well, that was his lifelong dream, to have that wall built for
Yeah,
all the fallen and their families.
yeah.
And yeah, I think God gave him breath and life until he was able to see that accomplished. What an amazing end to his amazing life,
Hmm.
where he gave so much and contributed so much for our Korean War veterans to be honored. It is really an incredible story.
Oh, I get cold chills and I almost get into tears every time I tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you're saying there, the wall you have there, now above the little area we have all the members who were executive committee or were they also those who were missing in action, or all those were killed, I guess. And then we have the various officers over the years. And below that, we did some ancillary things. Uh, I got so taken by the Miracle at Christmas, which was the mercy ships when they were retreating from Chosin out through the port of Honyang. Um, there were 100 mercy ships come in and get 100,000 Marines and equipment out of there real quick. And when they got there, there were 100,000 North Korean refugees. And this one mercy ship, Mary's Victory, could only hold between 30 and 40 crew members because they were supply ship. They put 14,000 North Korean immigrants uh, on that ship and took them down to Busan. I think they got turned away and they went to the island of Kojijo. Now, to the
Yes.
left, of course, is Captain Lillian. Which
She's
I
got a
can't
long name, Captain Kinkella
with,
Kiel.
I felt very with what she did in the service both World War II and Korea. I thought it needed to be said, and there was a movie made
Yes.
about all that. Then
Yes.
below that, on the right hand side, you will see Sergeant Reckless. There's a complete story. There's a book on that one. I got approval from the author to use some excerpts there from her
Uh-huh.
book, and that's a whole other story.
Well,
And
I think this is so great because rarely do a history museum get personal with some of the most amazing moments of the war. These are amazing moments of the war. Rescuing 14,000. Now, That was one ship that saved 14,000, but there were other Navy
Oh
vessels
yeah,
as
there
part of
were
the
another
Hungarian
one.
evacuation that ended up saving
Mhm.
90,000 North
Right.
Koreans who wanted to flee communism. She's obviously a great hero, flew so many missions as a flight nurse, taking care of the wounded on flights from Korea into Japan to hospitals. And then this is a war horse that was used during the war. So these really personal stories and really highlights of the Korean War in such a personal way. I love this. And didn't you have handouts for these as well at the museum?
Oh, we do. We have handouts for a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
these
so
things.
smart. That is so smart. And you this is actually displaying one of the handouts
Mhm.
of each of
All
these
three.
stories that people
Yeah,
can just grab
exactly.
and take. Not from this wall, but you have it somewhere else, right?
We have them on the counter of
Yeah.
the display
And
case.
we
Yeah.
do we've done several reprints of those handouts. They're very
We've been
popular.
through thousands.
Right. And I think when you tell personal stories is what people remember. People may not remember 36,000 killed, 8,000 missing. It's just a number. But when they hear about Hangam evacuation or this war horse or this flight nurse, it places something in their mind about the Korean War to remember.
Mhm.
So I love how you brought just these personal highlights and stories. And of course, this is, I know, a very important picture to you,
Oh,
Mr. Twenty. It says a picture says a million words. Is that right? 1,000 words?
Yeah.
well, glad you brought that up because part of the idea of this museum was I'm an artist. Was a picture's worth 1,000 words. I didn't have
Yes.
to do a lot of copy. Let the pictures speak for themselves. And if we're there, let me explain it. I was there.
Mhm.
Uh, but is for your viewing audience that's going to look at this, if you look at the light bulb at the bottom, that's South Korea. If you look up in North Korea, it's black. They have to let lights are all out at night except for some lights in Pyongyang, which is the capital. But and then only the elite are allowed to live there by permission.
Right. Just that little spot of Pyongyang
Yep,
is lit
that's
up.
it. That's
Everybody
it.
else is in darkness.
Yep.
I mean, I could talk for a half hour just on that
Yeah,
part.
it is the whole, just a real stark imagery of good versus evil,
Yes.
democracy versus communism, tyranny versus freedom. It's just so many contrasts, isn't it, of how North and South Korea have become very different countries as a result of what happened during the war. And all of this would be black today if not for you and so many Korean War veterans and defense veterans who have saved this land called South Korea. And I really hope the audience really takes a minute to appreciate what our Korean War veterans have done and our defense veterans have done to make Korea what it is today. And yeah, this is a most clear evidence of the outcome of the war.
Now, if you
Um,
go to that other wall
mhm.
before we get to the bunker, would be the one on the left.
Let's see. Do I have the other side? I may not have the other
You're
side.
there, I think.
Oh, let's talk about casualties here. I thought this was really good too.
I have a member who's an illustrator, and he
Hmm.
was in both Korea and Vietnam. And if you look at that illustration, he originally gave me a framed picture of that personally, and I said, "Can we use this in other areas?" He said, "I don't care what you do with it, you can use it." So I've used this so many other places, but the casualties I use, sort of as everybody knows, there's 36,634. I just rounded off to 37,000.
Hmm.
But you have the Katusas, you have everybody who was killed there, and it is 5 million were killed in the whole war. Over half of those, or half of those, were civilians themselves.
Hmm.
And and even before the war, the North Koreans or the Soviets, so to speak, killed 38,000 even before the war even started. We'll have that
This,
on there.
right. Now, this is such a beautiful art rendition or artwork done by this Air Force veteran who's also a Vietnam and Korea defense veteran who drew
Both
this.
Army and Air Force. Yep.
Yes. And it's amazing. I love this because when you look at Korea, and when I go to Korea today, since I've been meeting veterans, when I go to Korea, all I see as I look up into the mountains are faces of heroes I've come to know. Korean War veterans, fallen heroes. So when I look at the landscape of Korea, I see American heroes. This totally exemplifies that. When you look at this peninsula of Korea, think about the faces of those who fought and died for it
Mhm.
and served there. And so this marries the two things so well. And the more I look at it, the more I love it. Uh,
Well, the artist actually, or he's a good friend of ours, gave Trish the original.
Yes.
mhm,
He has the original artwork that he gave us. And by the way, he gave me an M1 rifle. He
mhm.
gave me a Tanger M1 rifle, which people don't know about. And then he gave me a 45, which are all going up in the museum here in the next few months. Then he gave me, this is unrelated to what we're talking about, a captured Viet Cong rifle that was captured in 1968 with a plaque on it. You can see the logos on there. It was made in Russia. It still has a bayonet on it, and it has the plate for the unit. I spent 6 months trying to find that unit, and I finally found them in Michigan.
Hmm.
And now that rifle, that Viet Cong rifle, is in the Michigan
Military History
Military
Museum.
History Museum.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's going to get me a carbine. That it's important that people see the weapons that we used,
Mhm.
and of course, you got to be so. It's the laws in Maryland are terrible when it comes to firearms and
Mhm.
stuff. So we've got to get a clearance for all this stuff.
hmm Wow. This is really beautiful. I really hope that, especially as Koreans watch this, that they look at Korea now through the lens of the Korean War, Korea today through the lens of the Korean War history, and really appreciate those who came before us. And this is such a great depiction of that. Um, let's see, what haven't we talked about? This. Let's go to this. This is a really important central point of your exhibit, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's the picture. That's my picture. That is a sign. I picture the sign I took. And if you
Mhm.
look in the upper lower left hand corner of that right or left chart, you'll see the actual fence that I took a picture of, which is south boundary of the DMZ. I decided to make a diorama of that barbed wire to put in front of that picture I took. It's 3D, and to show that it was very easy up even while I was there just to step over that fence if you did not get blown up by a
Mhm.
mine.
Right. So this is a
So,
difference between 53 and 2023. Just the fencing was even so primitive
oh,
and barely existent. And then here, look at all this
Mhm.
yeah.
barbed
In fact, is
wire.
one of the medals that I wear has a piece of the barbed wire fence that you see the in the one photographs.
hmm
Not my barbed wire there because I got that from a local farmer.
I
But
love how
anyway,
you created this exhibit with the picture of this was the bunker that you were in during the war. You
yeah,
blew that up and you set up these barbed wires and the little sign even. It looks so real. It looks so real. It almost puts you there. I wish we could see inside, but this is
yeah.
really realistic.
Then well,
Really beautifully
one of the
done.
metals I have has a piece of the original barbed wire embedded in that metal.
hmm
And you'll see there that with the troops today walking the perimeter 150 miles across Korea, there where it's all fortified at some person. I think most of it is electrified, etc. It
hmm
is the most fortified border on both sides in the world. It is the most dangerous border in the world.
Right,
Forget about the Israeli stuff and all that, but it's really,
Mhm.
really tough. And
right.
then I have some other things. The women's, what the women did in the Korean War, along with other things. And
I
then
love that. So there's a lot of flight nurses, MASH nurses. During the Korean War, from what I've researched, and please correct me if I'm wrong, only nurses were allowed on the peninsula.
yeah,
Um,
I never saw. I never saw a female, American female. where I was.
Yeah. During the war, it was only nurses that were allowed on the
Yeah,
peninsula. Now, you also have something here for POWs and missing in action,
right. And
MIAs.
the negotiations.
Right. Uh, I think this is actually Hiroshima. Not Hiroshima. Miyamura. When he was released. I don't know why I said Hiroshima. That's Japanese World War II. And then this is the POW MIA. And then what else you got here? Elusive peace. This was
Yeah,
while
you
the
got
peace
the fusion,
negotiations were
you
going
got,
on, dragging on for
you
2 years.
got the Chosin Reservoir, which they had so many losses, more by
Right,
the cold weather than enemy bullets, actually.
right.
Up the top, then I put a collage together of just a bunch of pictures, and then the left corner there is an orphan. As I was going through a village, I've told you this before, but I would save my fruit and candy and anything I had for the kids. I grew up in a large family, and I just couldn't stand that these kids. There's a GI blanket she's wearing, basically. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a slicky boy stole, and the mother made it into a pair of pants.
Oh,
I don't know.
wow. I would not have known that was a blanket made into an outfit.
No, that's a GI blanket. And then at the other end of that, if you can move it over, you'll see I have a further over.
Kid.
Uh,
There's a kid here. This is a famous picture of a kid getting
Yes.
yeah,
candy from an American
that's
soldier.
not me, but you're getting close. There's me with my washing again, and then those kids there on the right, they're kids that I was going through a village and would always hand out the candy or fruit or whatever I had because it
Mm-hmm.
meant so much to me. I'd save food, or I felt so guilty eating actually.
Wow. Well, I so appreciate the compassion and the love all veterans I've ever interviewed had for kids and their suffering during the war and after the war. Uh, it becomes very personal to me that you showed that kind of compassion for them, for their suffering. Um,
If
and
you
of
can
course,
move over to the left wall, then that it's there somewhere. You had it earlier. We'll show some folks a couple things.
oh, this, of course, is the Wall of Remembrance, the beautiful
Yes,
Wall of
yes.
Remembrance.
But
Let's
then
see if
that's where
I
we might
have, let me see if I have another picture.
getting close.
Oh, here
There
it
it
Yes.
is.
is. There it is. There
Yes.
it is. Okay. Of course, I wanted to show the wall. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the 19 soldiers coming through the rice paddy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wanted to honor the first lady, Yumi Hogan, of 8 years. There also. Then there's another plaque beside of that, who is a young lady that I know that I honored you. That
Oh,
is
well, yeah, we don't need to show that, but I appreciate you. Yes, I did put a message of gratitude to any veterans or families visiting. And I appreciate you giving me a place at this exhibit to do that. And so I used a lot of words, so I think it turned out a little long, but
well,
I just
your
wanted to express my
inspiration,
gratitude to all visitors, especially our veterans.
but your
So thank you
background
for.
and your inspiration led us to have to do. We needed to do that
Mm,
because this is a personal exhibit. Um, I mean, if you look below at the bottom there, there's a
mhm.
facsimile of the wall, or the
Reflect.
reflecting
Mhm.
wall that is there, which somebody donated to me, and I put it all together like that. And
Wow,
then,
I didn't know there was a miniature version of this. So,
yeah, yeah,
next to against where the statues are at the Korean War Veterans Memorial,
that
there's this wall of all the faces
wall,
etched on the side. Yeah.
that's a granite facsimile of the same. I know one person on there who's since passed. Then that right below that is showing our hooch with our battle gear that you see to the right on
Hmm.
our head, and then of course my home away from home.
I like
Uh,
your cap here.
yeah, we put all that together,
Uh-huh.
and there's my pile cap and so on.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you call it a pile cap? Is
yeah,
that
it's
what
called
that's
a
called?
pile cap.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why.
The fabric.
Okay, it's okay. It takes a
Wow.
woman to tell me what it is, but
Well, it's so personalized. I love every aspect of this. So this wall here next to the Korean War veteran statues, this is the replica of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, as you
Yeah.
know, that Colonel Weber got that approved, and it was through Reagan actually in '85, and then finally it worked it off where it got dedicated in 1995.
Hmm.
Uh, and then the other wall, of course, I think it went through Clinton, didn't get approved in 2016, and we, as you know, we dedicated it several years ago.
Yes,
Uh,
and that's the wall. I'm sorry, I don't have a good picture of that. The circular wall of 36,000 names.
and below that, of
Oh,
course,
here it is. So
okay,
that's the wall of remembrance that was added
right,
at the apex where the flagpole is, and it has the names of 36,000 missing. I'm sorry, 36,000 killed, of which 8,000 are still missing in action.
right. Then to the
Okay.
left of that, the whole wall is all just picture after picture, a picture of our members and all the different activities we've been. Trish and I have been in the National Memorial Day Parade for
Mm-hmm.
years. She would
Mm-hmm.
walk around with the
Right. So
camera.
these are some of the parade pictures here from Memorial Day.
Yeah, and we started
Yeah.
at the top of that, of course, at the very beginning of the chapter, our mission statement, and then to the right is where, as you'll see, our monument, and then the 32 who paid the ultimate sacrifice, of which we had seven in action, missing in action, and now I still have four missing in action, and we're working on a couple to see if we can get them straight. You know, maybe.
Wow. So yes. DeLauder, you know this family of DeLauder, don't you, Mr.
Yep,
Twentey,
I very
Mrs.
much was
Twentey?
involved in that. Well, through the 55 crates of the remains who came back in 2018 to Hawaii. His sister, who was 96 at the time, had DNA done 10 years
Mm-hmm.
earlier. And lo and behold, they matched up the DNA with Roy's remains. And he had another two sisters and two daughters, which really didn't know him very well. They were only a couple years old. When he died, December 1st, 1950, the war was only 6 months old. But they found his remains, and coming back from BWI, where his remains came in, every overhead over top of Interstate 70 from Baltimore to Hagerstown had fire engines and flags flying and people screaming and hollering. And then our hillbilly just came out hollering. But anyhow, when they got to same thing when they got to Hagerstown, Maryland, it was a big deal.
Hmm.
And so they asked me to
As
help
it
out.
should be, as it should be a big deal.
They asked me to help out with their funeral, and you'll see to the right there's a little strip where
Hmm.
she's at BWI leaning over the casket. If you go to the right side, if you
The
can,
other right.
the
Oh,
other,
this side. Okay.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, here it is. This is the
yeah,
Yes.
DeLauder funeral.
yeah.
Yes.
And
So
so,
Roy C. DeLauder, when his remains were identified, returned home. You
yeah,
were at the funeral with your chapter members.
so they asked me to speak. So I was the
Uh-huh.
primary speaker,
Right.
and then we brought up Kelly, I can't pronounce it,
McKee.
McKeek was there along with Jim Fisher and the embassy. And that was on the same day, Colonel Weber's funeral. We had to do this funeral and then run real quick to Frederick, Maryland to Colonel Weber's funeral. But it was quite moving. And that
Yes.
I am very, very close to them all the time. In
That's
fact,
great.
had I just had one of the daughters receive at a luncheon that the embassy did a couple of weeks ago the Ambassador of Peace Medal.
Hmm. Well, that's what I really love about both of you, Mr. and Mrs. Twenty, is that you not only have cared for the veterans in your chapter, but also any family members who lost loved ones in the war, especially those MIA families who haven't had closure. And to be there for them when their loved ones are brought home is a big deal. And the fact that you and other veterans give that kind of love and care to this hero being brought home is so beautiful. And I just love that you are so involved with these families there in Maryland. And it becomes so personal, isn't it? It's not just a name, it's not just a number, but a real hero that you've come to know through their families of who Roy DeLauder was to them. And I know
Yes,
that's been that way for me as I interviewed a lot of MIA families. They're not a statistic. Everybody had an important story, and these heroes had a life and a family that loved them. and they gave their all for South Korea. And so we have a duty to remember them and honor them always, and be there for the families. This is so beautiful.
This Susan was basically. I'm not going to get into details, but I've had a lot of issues with health, and I asked God, what am I supposed to do? He said,
Mm-hmm.
"This is what you need to do. You need to help other people." This was a few years ago, maybe even before
Mm-hmm.
all this. This is not about Trish and myself.
Right.
This is about the legacy of the Korean War, and as you said, individuals who either served there or somewhere else in the world during that era had something to do with it one way or another. And I just could not stand for it not to be taken care of as far as the legacy. And it just
Mm-hmm.
it I was saved to serve. God saved me to serve, and
That's
that's
beautiful.
basically what this is all about. It's not about me. It's not about Trish, although I don't know what I do without her. But we're not going to quit. We're still doing it. We were just at Fort Detrick this past Saturday with showing about the exhibit, and people got in their cars and drove right on up to the exhibit right
Mm-hmm.
there from the exhibit at Fort Detrick,
Yep.
which is very
Yes.
famous also for.
Well, I know that that was in your heart to honor all heroes who served in Korea. But I still have to give credit to both of you. Now, Mr. 20, when you started work on this exhibit, how old were you then?
How old was I? Let's see, it was three,
Four
four
years
years
ago.
ago. So I would have been
85.
85.
Okay, for the audience, okay, you all probably have trouble thinking or seeing that Mr. 20 is now 89.
Yeah.
Yep.
He doesn't look a day over 70 to me. But
Okay.
so I have to explain to people, okay, at 84 years old, 85 years old, most people would not take on the challenge of creating an exhibit from ground up. And both of you have given so many tireless and unending hours to think about what goes in, how to present it, just the graphics, just the display, the placement of everything, and how to personalize your message. This is beyond what I know normal 85-year-olds do. So I just really want to give both of you so much credit. Uh, I'm not even close to your age, and I'm tired most days just doing one thing. I can't even imagine even taking on something like this. And so I just want to thank both of you, Mr. and Mrs. 20, for just your devotion, your passion, your selflessness in putting this together. And oftentimes when we go to museums, we don't get to meet the creators. So I'm really happy that I get to introduce both of you as having done so much to bring this together. And of course, it is for the benefit of all Korean War veterans and those people who want to learn about the Korean War. But I really have to just acknowledge just the incredible gifting you have to put this together between the two of you at an age when you could just kick back and relax. You have more than earned that, but at 85 years old, you started to build this exhibit, and I so thank you both and honor you both for having done this beautiful exhibit. Now, as we kind of get to the close, I want to talk about another important part of your exhibit, which is to show the gratitude of the Korean people. And so I love this picture of Mrs. Twentey climbing up on this really high ladder to put up this scarf that we received. Now, this is from Sejong Presbyterian Church in South Korea. They
Mm-hmm.
have done about 20 years of service to America's Korean War veterans, and honoring them, both inviting them to Korea and also coming here. They came out for the dedication ceremony, so it says on the bottom right here, it's dedication ceremony. So they gave these scarves out to everybody who came to the dedication. They sponsored one of the dinners, and I know they gave a donation for the building of the wall. So this really exemplifies just the fact that Korea will not forget the love and sacrifice given to South Korea and its people by American sacrifice and American courage. And thank you for putting this here. This is a piece of Korean gratitude that needs to be shown to show the other side of the equation of Americans having fought this war. Now, what is the response of Koreans? And this is another beautiful
Mhm.
expression of gratitude. Now, Mrs. Twentey, I'm going to have you talk now. I love hearing your voice, and I don't think we heard you enough on this. I'm going to have you explain how you came up with this, or both of you came up with this beautiful banner that you have there at the exhibit.
Well, Ron and I have a little bit different design sense. Ron is very organized. I am too in my own way, but his presentations are very organized, very straight and even and horizontal and vertical, and I'm totally the opposite. So I tried to explain to him what I wanted, just to take these wonderful letters and throw them out wherever they landed. We'd take a picture of that and create the banner. And fortunately, the designer who put together the graphic version of this so that we could get it printed uh, totally understood what I wanted to do, and he organized these letters, put in a few pictures here and there to humanize it even more. And the heading that we chose was the one that was the most childlike that we could find, the dear grandfather, with a little bit of a correction on the A, and just
And the A falling down here.
very personal,
Yeah,
very
it's very cute.
personal. So people just love this
I
banner.
think that's from this one, isn't it? That's
Yes,
from this note.
it is.
That's totally by luck. I just threw this in there. I didn't know that's where you got it from. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. But visitors love that, and that's the other scrapbook that we uh, have open on top of one of the display cabinets. And again, I go and check to see if people have looked at that album, and indeed I found it on a different page than when we left.
Right. So you marry these thank you cards that the
Yes,
kids wrote from. Maybe I should give a back up a little bit and tell you a little about how we got
please do.
this.
Yeah, please do.
Right. So I was contacted by Lieutenant Colonel Lim of the Korean Veterans Association in Seoul. And he said, and also Colonel Tharp, shout out to Colonel Tharp in Korea. He's a retired colonel with the U.S. Army. He lives in Korea. And he said, Susan, I think you'll be the one to be able to get these thank you cards to the veterans. And so I received 100 of these. You'll see here in the back, Ansan Elementary School, Seoul, Republic of Korea. In the front, it says, "We never forget. Thank you for your service." They printed these professionally and have the kids write thank you words of gratitude in English and wrote them to the veterans, and then with beautiful artwork by these elementary kids in Seoul. And I received 100 of these, and I picked some of the best ones and sent them to Mr. and Mrs. Twentey. And I didn't know what they were going to do with it. I thought they were just going to share it with their chapter. And Mr. and Mrs. Twentey told me they're going to create this beautiful banner. I'm like, that's a great idea. That way you can take that banner to the exhibit or wherever else you do your public presentations. And also, I did a video, but I think that banner came out so beautifully because you've intermixed images of this thank you card. I think one of the kids had this flower in there, and you put that in there with
Rose
some of the
Parent.
pictures you took of kids in Korea, Mr. Twentey, during your service in Korea. This is a picture you took
Yeah.
of these kids right here. And then these are pictures of Satan Church when we arrived there for the honor trip. And then this is Mr. Twentey meeting Korean students at the Korean War Memorial. This is such a beautiful presentation of children, the fact that they can be alive and free because of our Korean War veterans, and the fact that they're being taught who it is that they saved, who it is that saved them and gave them their future. So this is such a nice wrap up, I guess, to the Korean War story of Koreans acknowledging our American heroes. And a lot of them drew American flags, which I love. And I want to share a couple of them that was really good. Here it says, "Dear Korean War veteran," I love the spelling of Korean, two R's, and war, W-E-R. "Hello, I am Cho Bo Min. It's great that you are fighting for your country on the battlefield, and thank you. Otherwise, our country would have been taken away. I'm so glad that we are in a ceasefire. I hope the peace will come soon and peace will come. This one is really cute. Dear grandfather, this is the
Mm-hmm.
huge title you took from here. Hello, thank you for protecting the Republic of Korea. Always be healthy and happy. That's my wish too, that all veterans will be healthy and happy. This is cute too. Thanks to you, we are living a happy life. Thank
Yeah.
you and I love you. Right to the point. I mean, that says everything right there. Shin Subin, I love this cute little picture. And oh, this is beautiful too. Um, I think, hello, I am now one in Anson Elementary School. I think the reason why war is occurring is because people try to take others' territory. And that was cause of Korean War. I feel sad you had to sacrifice um, yourself for it. I hope more happiness happens in the future, not something cruel like war. Dear veterans of Korean War, I wish you only health and happiness in you. Bless you. Now one. So
It's
thoughtful.
amazing the understanding these 9 and 10-year-olds have of war and the sacrifice of the veterans for them, for their lives.
Yes, and I give huge kudos to this Ansan Elementary School, its
Mhm.
principal, teachers for doing something of it may look so small, but I know it means the world to our veterans to have received this. I sent a lot of these also to veterans in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a couple other groups, and I love the fact that you came up with this idea to display it like this,
Yeah, we
so
had
that
one.
it's shared with not only veterans but all the visitors to your exhibit.
Well, we take one with us when we go speak. We have two of them.
Oh, you have two. Okay.
One we take with us, and then the very last thing I do in my presentation is read three letters from the kids
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
because I just can't stand not I love those kids, and they're my grandchildren, so to speak, and I have to leave them with a soft touch
Mm-hmm.
what the war was really about and how it was appreciated what the American soldier and my brothers did.
Mm-hmm. And I loved this, I guess, explanation you added here, Mrs.
Mhm.
Twinney.
Yes.
Yep.
And we didn't want to make it stand out too much. It's just there for anybody who wonders why in the world
Uh-huh.
are all these pictures here. We
Yeah.
want people to
And
understand.
I don't know whether you knew why you selected this. 절대 잊지 않겠습니다. That means we will never forget. Never forget. I mean, it's a very strong 절대 means never, never, never. Like really strong never. It's not just, oh, we won't forget. No, never, never, never we will forget. Uh, meaning your sacrifice and service. And I don't know how you knew to select that as the banner. It's really beautiful how you put it. The top is Dear Grandfather, but it ends with a Korean sentiment of never forgetting. Because the Korean War is the forgotten war. And so we have to do everything to uh, rebut that, right? Respond to that. It is not going to be forgotten. I just absolutely love what you
Well,
did with this.
well, as you asked me to do is why what do we want the viewers to know why we did this, other
Mm-hmm.
than the fact of the legacy, my brothers, my chapter, but as you know, over the years, Susan, you go somewhere and you'll see a monument that says police action. You'll see conflict, and I know where one is today that says conflict. I see it on the banners in little towns you go through where they show the veteran from, say, Korea, and it's a Korean conflict. Then you come up with the forgotten war. I can't stand that.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to know and remember that it was a victory in spite of what everybody thinks. And that's my whole bottom line right there.
And that was the reason why you created this exhibit. And that's what you want people to take away from. either having watched this video or having visited the Fort Ritchie Museum. So again, for anyone that's interested in visiting the museum, is it open every day?
In the summer, the museum's open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sunday, noon to 4. During the winter, the days and hours will go down to Thursday through Saturday, because the area of Washington County, Maryland, where the base is located, is higher altitude. It gets very cold and very dark and very slippery.
I see. So the hours vary depending on the season. Is there a website for Fort Ritchie Museum?
Yes, it's ritchiehistorymuseum.org. ritchiemuseum.org.
ritchiemuseum.org. For those of you who want to make sure you look at the hours before you visit. And I hope if you go on a Friday, you get a chance to meet Mr. and Mrs. Twentey. They serve as docents there. So you'll
especially Mr. Twentey. When people come in, I'm usually at the front. We have a little gift shop, and I'm usually at the front, so I get to greet a lot of the people, and I'll give them a briefing of the Ritchie boys' role in the history, very brief, and direct them around through an interrogation tent, which is really cool.
Oh, wow.
And up the other side into the Korean War era. And I tell them when they get to that part, they're going to meet a Korean War veteran who's the curator of the Korean War exhibit. And that is where they will get caught, and they may be there for days. and people love that and look forward to it.
Oh, it's not every day you visit a Korean War exhibit and get to talk to a Korean War veteran. I mean, that in itself is a gift too. So I just love all the personal aspects, how personal your exhibit is from start to finish. And that's because you put so much of your heart into this and a lot of thought into making it personal.
I want to make sure that all combat veterans understand they are the heroes. Mm-hmm. I'm just a messenger here with their story and what they did for such a wonderful country that is so gracious to the American soldier.
Well, they're heroes, but you are also a hero to them. So thank you for preserving their legacy and service during the war. I know you served after the war, and I know you're very clear about that, and give credit to our war veterans. But you're doing the work of preserving what they did and why it was significant for the rest of us to know. So I always enjoy talking to both of you, but especially today, to share this great passion and something that you worked so hard for the last several years to build. As a closing, let me just ask you, what have been some of the responses of the visitors? What do they tell you? What do they think about the exhibit?
Well, first of all, they don't know a whole lot about the Korean War. Mm-hmm. But if they're long enough with me, they will soon learn what it's all about. And they are amazed, absolutely amazed, how what is considered 3 years, but now 75-year war, mm-hmm. so to speak, really is all about. And I've had large groups. I had one big, large group, a senior citizen of 34, and I had to go up the steps of the thing and look out over top of them to explain what is going on. And we get them from all over the world. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I mean, even Iceland, can you believe, or Greenland?
Oh, wow, that's great.
You don't know. And it's getting, right next weekend, it's going to be a reunion of the Ritchie boys. There's only one left. Mm-hmm. The rest of them have passed.
Oh, wow.
So the descendants will all be there for a big deal. And the people will be coming into that museum like you wouldn't believe. Mm-hmm. And I just thoroughly enjoy talking to people because they all have stories too, or they'll mm-hmm. say, Susan, my father, my grandfather served in the war. By that time, I'll grab in my pocket and grab a challenge coin and say, here, this is in honor of your grandfather or your father. I want you to take this home and preserve it as his, because a lot of times they don't have anything. Mm-hmm. They don't know anything because they didn't talk.
Right.
Yep.
And they said, I never knew. I never knew. And because most people, like I said, just kept quiet. And
Mhm.
uh, but we are really, it's going to get bigger and bigger. The thing is expanding so rapidly right now since you've been there. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. And once I put this on YouTube and Facebook, I
Mm.
hope you're ready for more visitors.
Well, and the other thing that's happening at Ritchie, there are two buildings, the museum building that you've pictured, and a little to the east of that is another building that we call a sister building that's going to become the research center because the archives have outgrown the museum.
Oh,
So
wow. That's great.
many archives will go to that building so that people can sit and do some research. But between those two buildings is underway now a memorial garden that is really it's going to be so pretty, and that is to honor all who step foot in Fort Ritchie, whether to serve or to work over the years 1926 to 1998, the years that the fort was active. So that's going to be under construction for probably a while as people are purchasing bricks as a fundraiser and as a memorial to their family members who served or worked there. So that's the next big thing that's going on.
Yeah, and I had
Wow.
the
Everything
executive
is such
meeting.
an important aspect of preserving history and
Yes.
remembering
Yeah, I
those
had
who
our
served.
executive members approve a 24 by 24 if they'll allow us to put it
Mm-hmm.
for all Korean veterans, not just
Yeah.
my chapter.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. Fort Ritchie just keeps getting better and better. I
Mm.
thought this exhibit was pretty awesome already. And I know you keep improving it in itself, but it sounds like the archive research building and then the memorial garden. I can't wait to see it again.
I want to mention something that we didn't expect.
Mhm.
What Korean company started in January this year with the embassy? We're talking about maybe providing some funds to help us with the museum after we're gone. And we back and forth and back and forth. 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago,
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks ago, we get a call the day. Well, it was the day after 25th, it was 26th. We get a call and said, "You need to get all this paperwork in today, including your bank number." And we thought, okay. So as it turned out, Mr. Lee, who is the Patriots and Veterans Affairs, was on the way to Winchester chapter, Virginia, for those who don't know. And he said, they're going to give you $36,000. And I said, no, it ain't going to happen. So we just later in the afternoon said, Trish, check the bank account. And sure enough, that Korean company gave us $36,000 to continue this legacy of ours.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I hope you find more supporters, even just private citizens who see the importance of maintaining the Korean War exhibit there at Fort Ritchie. And but I'm so gratified to know that a Korean company is helping support your museum to continue. Uh, so, is there anything else you'd like to say that I didn't ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Twentey, as we close this interview about Fort Ritchie Museum?
Go ahead.
Well, it's growing. I never thought when I opened my big mouth on March 3rd, 2021, that it would be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I would like it to be larger. I would like it to be bigger artifacts. I'd love to have vehicles, but that's not possible at this time. At this time now, but later on, maybe some of these things will be.
Mhm.
Now, in addition to that, next Saturday we have to be up to the World War II experience up near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which have just hundreds of military vehicles from Korean War II.
Mm-hmm.
And they've asked us to come there to represent the Korean War
Mm-hmm.
and be a
Mm-hmm.
part of that event, which is a 3 day event, although we can only be there one day. But uh, it's a huge event. They will have tanks out where you can take rides in tanks, and
Mm-hmm.
just it's a big operation, and it's just beautiful. But the whole point is anywhere we can go to expand
Mm-hmm.
the PR
Yeah.
on this museum and the Korean War
Mm-hmm.
is important to us.
Well, I
And
think
we're
it's great. I think it's great that you're making all these connections to other organizations that are preserving pieces of history, even with like Jeeps and things like that.
mhm.
And you just never know where down the road there could be more partnership to expand what you have
Yeah.
with them. So I appreciate that this work isn't done for you, that this is a continuing work for you to see how this can be built on and continually improved upon.
Well, it's interesting. Just when we think that we've completed the last piece of the puzzle, God put something else in front of us and said, "Look at this now."
That's great.
We're,
But I
we're
just go ahead, Mrs. Twinney. I'm sorry.
we're really we're really fortunate to have been given um, the gifts of marketing and communications and graphic design. We're fortunate to have been given those gifts and to get to use those gifts in such a meaningful way.
Right. Well, I think it is really God's hand in your lives as professions that you both worked in when you were younger to now use for this important work of preserving legacy of our Korean War veterans for future generations to never forget. And I thank God for how He's used both of you as a team to put so many beautiful elements together in such a personal way to show people the legacy of our Korean War veterans and then also even just the response of Korean people in gratitude. There's no exhibit like yours. I absolutely love yours, even though it's small. It's
Mm-hmm.
everything is meaningful, everything has significance, everything you put there. So I just really thank both of you for your thoughtfulness, your incredible giftedness, and selflessness in creating this exhibit. And I encourage all of our viewers to go visit again Fort Ritchie's History Museum. And again, the website was this is
RitchieMuseum.org.
ritchiemuseum.org. Mr. and Mrs. Twentey, I know I'll be talking to you again soon, but I just really thank you both for opening your hearts, opening your doors to the Fort Ritchie Museum today for this virtual tour. I love you both so much. I cannot even put that into words how much I love both of you and respect both of you for all that you have given uh, to our Korean War veterans and to the legacy of the Korean War.
What goes without saying, thank you for all you have done and what you have done for every Korean veteran. I mean, you amaze me also.
Meeting you
Well, I
has
wouldn't
been
be here
such,
without our Korean War veterans, so
Well, I know that,
I'm just the byproduct. But really, you
but you
were
know,
all the initiators of this whole equation of Koreans being able to do anything. And so my being able to even talk to you, to do anything in response is a result of what Americans first did for us.
well,
So,
because we're Christians, I say this because I'm sure I know where this is all going to go. As I said earlier, I've been saved. I should not be on this planet many years ago, including Korea. Uh,
mhm,
and God says, I'm saving you, as I said earlier, to serve. And
yes.
that is what it's all about.
And that's a great and noble reason for our lives, isn't it? To serve others. Well,
Yes.
God bless you, Mr. and Mrs. Twentey. I know I will see you soon, both in Washington, D.C. I look forward to that. And thank you so much. I love you both so much. And thank you always.
love you.
We love you
Thank
too.
you.